What is up, YouTube? Brian here with Board Wipe Gaming, coming off a win of Moralltach Monthly 34. It's January's monthly hat tournament. We had, I don't even know how many players, 60 something maybe? Let's see. 56 players. 6 rounds of Swiss. Cut to top 8. I lost round 1, and then my opponent round 2 dropped before we played, and then I won out. Pretty similar list to what I won Moralltach Monthly 30 with. A few changes. Notably, the extra deck, I took out Lavavel Chain, and I took out Roach, and I added a second Pleiades and a Ragna Zero. The main deck is identical. I didn't change that at all. This is, sorry, that's not it. Ignore this card. Is this, and then I've been messing around with a new list since then. So 1 Trap Tricks, and then 1 Debunk in the main, 1 Debunk in the side, and Transmigration Prophecy in the side. I've been messing around with just taking that card out completely, doing 2 Debunks in the side, and a second Trap Tricks Trap Hole Nightmare in the main. Thinking about that, but otherwise the main deck that I played in the tournament was identical to this one. And the side deck, I took out both Deep Darks and Soul Drain and Needle Sealing, and put in 2 DD Crows, a Beagletalk, and a second Acid Trap Hole. Geargia is hard and problematic for this deck a lot of the times, so a second Acid is always helpful on the side. And then the Beagletalk I really like to swap the Scythe with for the matchups where Scythe doesn't really do anything, specifically Prophecy, Spellbooks. And the Crows are just good against the artifact cards. Really good in the mirror, especially with like Soul Charger's Calls, Dio, and the artifacts running around. I didn't miss it in the main. A lot of people are maining Crow in this format. That's never something I've really been tempted to do. It seems like there's enough variety in the format where it's just not adding too much, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see ways to try and fit it in the main deck going forward, but there's nothing, every card in the main deck is just something that I really like, I think. Like, I wouldn't change the ratios on any of these, none of this. I side out Duality going second a lot, so there's a world where maybe I only play 2, because the math on the third is like pretty incremental. Like, it adds some but not a lot, so there's a world where 2 potted Duality isn't the worst thing in the world, maybe. But otherwise it's just, I don't know, it's really hard to fit Crows. I like 2 Soul Charge and I like 2 Call, so we'll see. But that was the list I used. Lost connection. This is my loss, round 1. Oop. Sylvan round 1. I didn't pause any of these, so I'm gonna have to refresh all of them. It's been a while since I've read a Sylvan card. I'm sure I did not play optimally. And I had the opportunity to ignition the Oath, and it's possible that I should have. I didn't really understand what was going on. They're just digging for Sylvan Charity, of course. And unfortunately for me, the second Oath hit it. So that is bad luck for me. And I didn't know that they had a flip effect that excavated 5. So I just swung into it like a dummy. And it kind of did a lot. Like, it got them back Sylvan Charity. It popped my back row. And it summoned another body to block an attack. So, like, I cleared the board. But if I just Pleiades, bounce that back to hand, and then push, I might just win the game, honestly. So that was a little unfortunate for me. But at the same time, that would leave like 2 Archfiend's Oaths on the field too. Or one. I popped one with Moralltach, I think. So they'd still be digging in their deck for whatever was coming next. I don't know. It's possible that what I did there was just incorrect. Debugging the blaster doesn't do anything because I'm pretty sure I'm right on this. Things that move locations to pay costs don't get banished by debunk. If I'm wrong, feel free to yell at me, and then that blaster shouldn't have been there. But I don't think that's wrong. So now, yeah, I'm just at a point where they're doing Sylvan things because Soul Charge, and I just am going to lose. I don't think we need to watch the rest of this game. I go first again. Double Max C and not the best hand into a Sylvan Charity. But they didn't like draw super well off the Sylvan Charity. This is probably a bad card to put in. I didn't want to lose to a set Komushrumo. So not my best choice, but I've got Max C here. It doesn't do a whole lot, but I have a second Max C, so it doesn't super matter. And then I have Soul Charge, and now I get to make a rank 4. And then that rank 4 loses to Light Imprisoning Mirror because I'm a dummy and didn't use Dionea to set one of the trap holes because I didn't think it would matter. I could have used Dionea, set the acid, chained the double cyclone to pop the light mirror, and then I would still have a bottomless. And my Exiton, my first Exiton would have gone through. So I would have had a second Exiton. And a bottomless. And a Max C. So that's my second mistake. At least. A minimum, for sure. Like, at least my second mistake of this match. I Max C again just because, I don't know. And then, of course, they stop because, why not? I Dio, pop the fertilizer, take that, poke, but they have Charge and Charity, so I'm just in a tough spot. And now they get to do all sorts of things. So it could have gotten a worse draw. The problem is, I don't know, there's just so much going on. I sank him here because Alcé does, what does it do? Oh, he just stacked his deck with Charity, so like I wanted to get rid of the Alcé. And then he lone fires and does some things and does some other things, and I've got an Ignition that's not doing anything right now, unfortunately. And then just resolving this card is just nuts. I drew a Moralltach, so that's good. I I ignition in the standby phase to get rid of the Aurea, and then they draw a Soul Charge off the Charity. They go down to 200. So if I top deck nothing because my Dio is gone, I need to top deck Soul Charge specifically to not lose this game, and then they make a Felgrand, so it doesn't matter anyway. Because I can't even make a Cowboy. And I just lose. He has game on board. So unlucky. We lost round 1, and then round 2 opponent. Round 2 opponent just dropped after round 1. So we know we have to win out because we know X2 tiebreakers when you lose round 1 in these tournaments are horrendous. We win RPS for round 3 against an ill-sworn deck. I'm just gonna show my hand. We draw Fire Hand, set 5 pass. We let him do whatever that is. It seemed fine. He does some stuff. I Sanctum, pop 1. I compulse the other one because I'm just trying to press advantage, and then I get Dark Hold. So that's unfortunate. Yeah, compulsing that seemed okay just because drawing any monster puts him on a 2-turn clock there. We double cycle him in the end phase just to put some pressure on, and now we get 4,300 in. We draw another call. Ladies bounce the call, and then set pass. We can just kind of do some stuff here, bounce the monster, and then we have game on board through the call, so we didn't need to warning it. Oh, we have Rainbow Karibo, and then I have call for a Fire Hand for game. And that's the first time I read that card. They go first into an Ophion, search Ripples, which is also a card I never read before. And then I don't know if they're just not playing Infestation, but the Compulse went through, so. And then they just make an Exiton, but their Exiton was, we were even, so they couldn't Exiton. And I just didn't go to my battle phase. And then I have the out to the Exiton before he gets to his main phase. And they get a level 5 Illswarm. I just call it back and pop it. I just have so much advantage for this whole rest of the game. He summons a different one, bounces 2 to my hand, and I think that's fine. I have Soul Charge, and I Tribute Summon, make Pleiades, and then I just bounce that in the end phase. I activated the Breakthrough skill so I could set the Double Cyclone. Specifically. It just seemed more important because I had the Moralltach there to clear any back row that might stop me from gaming. And I didn't feel like I needed the breakthrough on his turn for anything crazy. So I sacrificed it. And then now I just have game even through a Rainbow Karibo. So we win round 3. Round 4 we play against Mermail, which is sometimes scary. But we win RPS, which helps a lot. And we draw a lot of good cards. This plays really well into a marksman pitch. And then he hits the double cyclone, unfortunately. That was very unlucky. I really wish that the marksman would have missed the double cyclone. We warning the Undine because I don't want to deal with it. We get breakthrough on the Merm. That's okay. We still have TTHN. So this is the part where some of it can get kind of scary here because I have 2 dead back row. So if they don't do anything, I'm going to be in a spot of trouble, if you will. And they pitch 3 for lead. And then Marksman hits the Moralltach, which is good for me. Because now I can put 6. Oh, no. That gets a breakthrough. But then that gets Trap Hole, Tricks, Trap Hole, Nightmare. So we'll have to skip his next battle phase after this. He makes Gaios, which plays into the Dark Hole. I run the Dark Hole saying, hope it wasn't Lind. Because if that's not a Lind, I have game with the ice. So we rolled the dice and it worked. This game was pretty interesting, if I remember correctly. So let's go. Yeah, he does his normal stuff. Pitches a Marksman to search Undine for next turn. So that's one passes. I have him pretty slow, right? 2 Merm, 2 Dio. So we're just gonna hope we don't die. That's gonna resolve to grab the controller. Dragoons is gonna get a search. And then the Soul Charge means I'm not gonna die. So now I'm just... Please make a board that is Dark Holeable, right? So I can stay in the game. Make another Dragoon search. So they still have the Megalo in hand. Now they're Megalo Infantry. Megalo Infantry and Controller are 3 of the 6 here. We draw Call, so we have some like end phase, pop the Sphere if he summons the Megalo here. And he slow rolls it again. Yeah, he slow rolls it again. So he still has Megalo, Infantry, and Controller in hand. And this time I do hit a set Lind. Lind summons Turge to add back Undine, and then Gun brings out another Lind, but I can just attack over the Lind, and then I get double crowed. Oof, that's tough. So I tried to dodge the first crow with the Call, and it doesn't work. Unlucky. So we just attack over the Lind, since it's hard to use its effect from the Dark Hole. Set a breakthrough and pass, and now he's using Megalo, and now here. So this is the interesting part where I think it might have made the wrong choice. I think if I'm in that position, I'm forcing the Bottomless instead of hitting the Unknown with Marksman. Because if you're just summoning Megalo, right, that's not like threatening game right now. So I'm like worried, especially when you're pitching these two. You're gonna pop the Dio and you're gonna target a set, but you have Undine in hand. So now I know hand, Undine, and Controller, right? So you have Undine to send Title and Controller to make like a Leo. So at this point, I'm not bottomlessing the Megalo for anything, because even if he summons another water, 48 or 24, 24, 17 is still only 65. So I don't know. If I'm Fitz, I think I'm targeting the Bottomless with this Marksman instead of the Unknown. Because then that forces the Bottomless there. You lose the Megalo, but you gain so much more because then you stick a Leo next turn, and you have Title recurring. Because you're not going to lose the Title to the Bottomless now. But they targeted the Unknown, so I break through. So he doesn't get the Sphere. I lose the Dio, but now it's just definitely not game on board. Send the Title, grab the Controller. So now I think he has 2 controllers in hand, right? And that's the second time he's resolved Undine. Yeah. Yeah, so I take 48, 48, 17. And then I have the second Dio, which is just huge. Does he have 2 controller, or am I just missing? Yeah, okay. Wanted to see if I was right. So now I have 2 Dio. I get to reset the TTHN. I get to Honor Arc the Megalo, attack over that. Now he's just got 2 controller, and I still have bottomless. So now I just feel like I have a lot of the advantage here. I can hit the Malcat with the double Cyclone. Sanctum Monsters game didn't draw it, but now I'm ahead, and he just can't summon the title because he didn't target the known bottomless with the Marksman. And I didn't need to be scared of Torrential because my Honor Arc had the material, so I could just summon this to not really worry about it. And then, yeah, we stole game 2 when we maybe shouldn't have, because if I lose that bottomless, then I lose my my out to this card coming back every turn. And so we took that one, and then that was round 4. All right, so we got 2 rounds left of Swiss. And what happened was we did RPS, and then we realized he had the wrong deck, and I won the original RPS. So that's why he said scissors for me, but I'd already picked paper, so I said oops, and then he just clicked me going first because I won the original RPS in the original replay before we realized he had the wrong deck. This is a Gear matchup, which is scary. Winning RPS is a huge help. Double Sanctum is also a huge help. The debunk too, just having the debunk for the hands isn't bad either. Unfortunately, I don't get to do that. My black ship gets bottomless. I take the hand there because I can crash here and minus Chainlink 1, and then I debunk his Chainlink 2. I give him an even trade on the Max C, that's fine. Dio gets Fiendish, that's okay. We just gotta do stuff. I bottomless his Fire Hand, and now I'm just in a really good spot because now I can out that Fiendish, ignition that, and then I just have. I just had the answer to everything, as he succinctly stated before he gets heated. I have Acid here. I hard draw the Acid, which is nice. So I have the out to the first armor. He has Gear. So he gets the Gear X anyway. I like to think I'm in an okay spot because I have a hand, and then my ice hand gets debunked. He MST'd because he thought it might be a wiretap. And sometimes, you know, if you get debunked against gears, you get killed next turn. This is a good hand to have. I didn't set the Beagle Talk because I don't have another one. Sanctum the Arsenal. I have an Acid that maybe I should have waited, but I didn't want to lose the body here. Yeah, I didn't want to lose the body here, so I chose to use Sanctum first because if you gotta win fast when you're playing against gears, because if you don't win fast, when the game goes on long enough, they snowball and they get so much momentum, and then you die. So I chose to use Sanctum here before Acid. And he breaks through the second Myrmilio. So he doesn't know that I have. He knows that I. Oh, did I search Acid? I might have. Let's see. I no longer remember what I searched first. I did. So he does know the Acid. So maybe I should have. I don't know. That's weird. Maybe I should have used the Acid because it was known and kept the Sanctum hidden. But some. What am I valuing more at the time, right? Keeping the body or keeping the info? Hard to say. Hard to say. Gets the Arsenal back off MK2. He goes into a 3, but I have the I hard drew Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, and he has Fiendish. I have the Ignition for it, and he doesn't have another Battle Stopper. Unlucky. So we just outdraw. We just outdraw Girgia, and you know, it is what it is. So now we have one left. And who do we match up against in the final round of Swiss? None other than a Harpy deck. I could not have asked for a better matchup, to be perfectly honest. It is so hard for Harpies to win this. If you draw any semblance of your artifact engine. So we open Merm set 4, pretty good. We're not worried about Hunting Ground right yet. Get card. And then in the end phase, I don't ignition anything because I want to try and save it for something impactful. I decide not to end phase ignition because I want to see what's targeted with Hunting Ground first. Because if Hunting Ground hits the Scythe, you know, I'm just not going to touch it. So you might as well try and save ignition until it hits something more impactful or the party. Hunting Ground targets the, I don't remember, the Bottomless, so I just Bottomless the Harpies Queen. It gets lanced, and I say, fine. And now I get to Ignition the Sign, which just seems like way more impactful than ignitioning this, because now they don't get Egotist or the end phase search. So that was good. I get Soul Charge, which is unfortunate. So I'm hoping that now they have a 50-50, right? Hit the Wiretap or hit the Scythe. I'm hoping they hit the Scythe. I don't think they hit the Scythe. I think they hit the Wiretap. So that's a little bit unlucky. So now my other, my Moralltach gets put to bottom, my hand gets put to top. So now I'm behind all of a sudden because of the Soul Charge, which sucks. I summon the hand, I try and do the hand plays, and I get Fiendish. And he preemptively max C's, which is fine for me. I just pass. I'm going to force him to Chidori this back to the top again. Because I'm not dying this turn, I don't think. And then I get partied. So now they don't know what this is. So I'm hoping they do target it. Unfortunately, the Hunting Ground just hits the Fiendish Chain instead. It's still not enough for game. And if they summon another Chidori to put this on the bottom, my hand just kind of solos the board. I don't remember if that's what they made. They might go into Dweller. Yeah, they do go into Dweller, which means I just have the Soul Charge play instead. So I had the option. If they don't go to Dweller, the hand clears the board, and if they do, the Soul Charge does it. Merm pop the party. I want to leave this alive because it's mandatory. So if they choose to pop the Scythe, they do. And if they don't, then it destroys itself. And then, yeah, they just didn't draw a play to push through that Soul Charge. So we take game 1. We almost didn't. We almost lost to that Chidori, but game 2 was I didn't draw any artifacts, so the Hunting Ground hits the Wiretap, and I don't know. I decided I wanted to keep the Wiretap, and then I get Egotisted, and then, yeah, so now Chidori is just gonna go pretty hard. And I was like, oh, please hit the call. And they hit the wire, so they're winning all their 50-50s, which is unfortunate. And then they Crow the Merm. Unfortunately, they have the debunk for my Fire Hand. So now my call is dead because I don't really have anything. And then they put the call to the top. And I was like, well, maybe if I draw a monster here, and I drew Moralltach. So I did draw a monster, just a bad one. So I lost game 2. They had the side cards for my hands and my calls. So I just had no monsters, and I got killed by a single Chidori. Heavy hands here, but Sanctum is pretty good. And right here, the Sanctum gets hit, so finally something goes my way. And here, I made the mistake of using Sanctum to target this, knowing that they play Lance. So I should have Sanctum, targeted this, and then done this Chain Link 2 or something. So I could clear both. I would lose to Soul Charge. Or not lose to Soul Charge. I could get Soul Charge. But they didn't have any follow-up after I Moralltach the Dancer. Had to keep the Hunting Ground. I set the Soul Charge for a double Cyclone target, so I could keep Call if they outed any of these. Because Call seemed more impactful if they outed the board, put Moralltach engraved, call it back to out whatever they're doing. Seemed like a better option when they're this low than Soul Charge. So I hit the Soul Charge with that. But then, yeah, at that point, they just had a dead debunk and only one monster. So the double Cyclone on the party was good. I'm glad it was party and not Soul Charge. So yeah, that was absolutely a losable game in a really favored matchup for me. So I'm glad I drew at least the double Cyclone or something to answer the party, and I'm glad that it was party and not Soul Charge. Because if that was a Soul Charge last turn, it would have been much worse for me. But we win the last round of Swiss, and we're on the top 8 against Spellbooks. We had an interesting thing happen in this match, a ruling discrepancy that I'm more convinced on it than I was before, but it really just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. They win RPS. They go first with... So they opened pretty well with Max Crow and Secrets. So they get to Tower. I figure that the Fire Hand is going to get faded. I have 2, so I didn't really care. So I'm just going to summon it again next turn. That's fine. I chain Ignition on the other back row to get an artifact set. And then now I can set the double Cyclone. So Ignition and double Cyclone means I turn off their tower. And Moralltach gets crowed, but I debunk the crow because what else am I going to use it on? Then they can't chain the Max Seed to the debunk. So now I'm in a pretty good spot. I turned off tower, so their fate's still in grave. So I'm not really too worried about much of whatever they're going to do. I break through the Magician, they add Secrets back and just pass. I summon the Fire Hand, put more pressure, set call. And now they're just drawing dead on Maxi, and one Magician just doesn't do enough. Especially when I draw another monster, and now I just have a Cowboy for game 1. So they don't even ever get a turn for 2 draws on the tower. Game 2, I open double Fire Hand again, but no back row removal. So game 2 is just... We'll watch a little bit of it, but honestly, it's just... They're drawing 2 every turn. They put the Priestess on the board right away. And I can just never out it. I never draw enough. I never draw anything that just gets rid of that Priestess. It might stay on the board the entire game, or most of the game. And yeah, I Ignition the first tower, but Priestess or Fate banish the hand, and then Eternity grab it back. Oh god, they had a Cycle Reader? I don't even think they ever used this card. That's how poorly this game went for me. They have a Cycle Reader in their hand that they just never used. Because my Beagle Talk got nightmared. Cool. I'm warning the Justice because I don't know what else to do at this point. I try and compulse the Priestess, but they held the Wisdom in their hand, and they have another one set. So it's just like a cycle of awful things. I try and summon... goodness. I try and summon something to attack over it. It gets warninged. Yeah, they don't do anything. They just sit here. So now they have another Priestess. They grab Secrets again. And now I've got a bunch of cards that don't do anything. 2 Moralltach set. 3 Moralltach set. 3 Moralltach set. It's unfortunate. Ugh. So, yeah. It just spirals, and I can just never win. I don't want to watch the rest of that. I'll put the link to the replay in the Yu-Gi-Oh! In the YouTube description if you decide you want to watch the rest of that game. Game 3 is where we have a ruling discrepancy. If you have opinions, chime in. I would love to hear them. I'm still not convinced that the right call was made. It ended up not affecting the outcome of the game. But I draw a set 5 pass. I just warning the Priestess because the life is dead. And unfortunately, I hit the life with the ignition. And this is where I learned that Beagletalk is a hard once per turn. I never had 2 in my deck before. This is the first time. This is the first tournament I put it in my side deck. And this is the first match I sided it in, I think. So, the more you know. So, that might have been a bit of a misstep. But I still end up getting to Tiras. And here's where the ruling discrepancy comes into play. Both attacks go through. Chainlink 1, Tiras, targeting this card. Chainlink 2, Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, Nightmare, to negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. And if you do, destroy that card. Chainlink 3, Breakthrough Skill. Target 1 face-up effect monster your opponent controls. That face-up monster your opponent controls has its effects negated. Has its effects negated until the end of this turn. How do you think this resolves? Do you think Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, Nightmare destroys Tiras, or does it not? So, my thought originally and still is that Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, Nightmare cannot negate an effect that is already negated. Their argument is that they're negating effects in different ways. Their original argument was like, this negates the card and this negates an effect. I was like, well, no, this doesn't negate a card. This negates a card's effects. They both negate effects. The way they described is that Breakthrough puts a giant X on the card, and then when the card is trying to resolve its effects, Breakthrough says you can't do that. Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, Nightmare is negating a specific effect when Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, Nightmare resolves, not when the monster resolves. Monster effect resolves. So there's a world where that kind of makes sense, I suppose. But it's not something that's ever really come up in any real meaningful way. In something like this, if there are modern comparisons, like if skill drain's on the field and let's say there's a skill drain on the field and my Baron de Fleur is lanced, so unaffected by skill drain, and you summon a monster and you activate that monster's effect, and I chain. Well, let's say I chain Solemn Strike, negate that effect, and if you do, destroy that card. If skill drain's on the field, the Solemn Strike destroy the card. I did not think so, but I'm unsure. So yeah, we had like a 20-minute ruling discrepancy where they were trying to get format library judges to make a ruling, and in the end, they decided that these negate effects in different ways. So even though Breakthrough Skill negated Tiras' effects, Trap Tricks, Trap Hole, Nightmare also negated the effect that activated and destroyed Tiras. In the end, I was sure it was not going to matter because I knew everything in his hand. I knew Wisdom, and because it was revealed off of Priestess. I knew Fate because it was revealed off of Priestess, and I had already hit the life. These were the last two unknowns. So even without the Tyrus, I was convinced it didn't matter. I just ignitioned the Fate. Yeah, well, so like so many different things. I ignitioned the Fate, and so now I have a breakthrough. I'm just gonna lose to the Wisdom, so I didn't do it. They tower, and I top deck the out to tower. So they don't get a second draw. They draw another Wisdom, and now the match is over because I have game on board. So even with the tower draw, if I didn't draw double Cyclone, if I just drew something that didn't destroy tower, they still had to draw like a play that was real. And the plays that are real are kind of, I don't know, what, a Blue Boy or a Secrets or something, right? Can't be Eternity, can't be Master, can't be Power, can't be, yeah. So they needed one of four cards on a 29. I don't know, so I was in a good spot regardless, but I just drew the heart out. So we win our top 8 match. Top 4 is against a mirror-esque of sorts. I knew they weren't playing hands in the main deck. It was a card car artifact trap tricks list. I win RPS. I open double Cyclone and Myrmilio and Soul Charge and a hand. It's looking good. So we just get a lot of pressure in early. They didn't draw any real plays. They're gonna have to compulse something here. They finally get to an ignition, but the Scythe isn't gonna do anything. I just bottomless the Scythe because why not? The Sanctum is gonna pop something here, and they know I have the Traptrix Chapel Nightmare, so I think they should have not activated Moralltach there, but I mean they have the compulse for the Myrm. But even so, now I just kind of have game because the Sanctum doesn't really do much. They get to Soul Charge, but I have Torrential, and I still have 2 monsters, so double Cyclone for the spell trap in the end phase, and then we have game. Game 2, I get to go second. Now it's their turn to draw Myrm, set 4 pass with a Sanctum. It's pretty good. I set the Fire Hand. They don't attack into it until they summon their own Fire Hand, and then so now we have a weird exchange. I break through, it gets wiretapped, and then I Sanctum here, and I chain the ignition to try and hit something. That gets crowed, but I have the debunk for the crow. So now I put them in a position where I outed both of the materials on the Honor Arc. And I have Soul Charge. Sanctum in the end phase. Into a Tyrus. And here, I break through the Tyrus, the Fire Hand pops it, blah blah blah, summons the Ice Hand. I just let him attack the Ice Hand like a dummy, set pass, and then I say, wait a second, we missed something, because somebody messages me, and they're like, why did you let him do that? Because I'm a silly goose. So we rewind. I'm essentially just able to make my own Honor Arc, steal it, set a bottomless, blah blah blah. Unfortunately, they still pot into a mind control, and that mind control is something I maybe should have pushed into earlier. Unfortunately, I think I should have summoned the hand here, just to push for extra damage, because even then they mind control the hand, they summon the Myrmilio, then they overlay into a rank 4 that I'm going to bottomless. Like, so yeah, my thought was If I do that, if I summon that, that puts him to 24. He mind controls it, summon Moralltach, grabs his own Trap Trick Trap Hole Nightmare, breakthroughs my Honor Arc, and then crashes. So the end result is he just has an Honor Arc with no materials. Because I would probably if I bottomless the Honor Arc, he detaches one, and then he breakthroughs mine, and then attacks and detaches another. Or I hold the bottomless and let him do that because I have my own breakthrough. So that might be the better play. So that's why I didn't summon the Ice Hand. And then he just gets rid of the bottomless. And then still breakthroughs that. And then still ends on an Ice Hand and doesn't set anything. So I draw a Merm here. So maybe it's a good thing I didn't do what I wanted to do last turn, because that wasn't going to be drawing an out to the mind control thing. But then the problem is now I lose to the mind control this turn anyway. So maybe there just simply wasn't anything I could have done. And now he can set 2 because he he can't I can't play through the Dweller. And then he top decks Deo, of all things. Of all things. I really just needed it to not be a real play. So even though we rewound the game set, I lost game 2. I get to go first game 3 though. I open Moralltach, Fire Hand, and 4 traps. And look at this just monster of a bad hand. 3 artifacts, a DD Crow, a Breakthrough, a Dark Hole, and then draws a 4th artifact for his 7th card. There's just what was he meant to do, you know? Yeah. I just, on top of that, on top of drawing amongst the worst hand of all time, I drew maybe the best. Like, I have a little bit of everything. I have a Wiretap, I have a Debunk, I have hands, I had Moralltach, I drew into a Sanctum eventually. Like, I just, I had a little bit of everything. So we make it to the finals. And we win RPS, I think, if I recall correctly. No, we lose RPS. I went through all of Tiger's replays and I studied his RPS history and I tried to snipe which one he was going to pick, and I guessed wrong. Unlucky. But I mean, I opened Sanctum Double Cyclone with a Moralltach. I mean, he opens Ignition Double Cyclone. So it was not a game I thought I was going to win. But I pot into Moralltach, which helps. Yeah, so after this first turn ended, I thought I was for sure going to lose this game. Because I set 4 here, right? And Ignition, hit 1, okay. Ignition, hit 1, okay. Unlucky. Double Cyclone, hit 1. Thankfully, he hits my Sanctum. So now my Sanctum can pop that last unknown card. But the problem is, now he's got a rank 5, and he went pretty good. And here, he attacks. He doesn't know what this is. I feel like Tiras, I don't know if he plays it, because he plays an M7. So maybe Tiras just isn't in his list. I don't know. He already hit 2 artifact cards. Was he worried about a 3rd? He goes into Pleiades and then doesn't do anything. I Dark Hole, and I don't know. I made a read on a Soul Charge, because I was like, oh, what cards do I lose to here? And I was like, I cannot play through a Soul Charge. Maybe I made the read on the Soul Charge because I had a Soul Charge. Crazier things have happened, right? So I go number 80, and I banish both of the artifacts. And if I had paid attention to his replays, I would have known he was playing M7. So maybe there's a world where I banish the Pleiades and an artifact instead. But I did not find out he was playing M7 until he soul charged the Pleiades and summoned it. In attack mode. in attack mode. I couldn't believe it. That is a lucky play number 1 for me. If that gets summoned in defense, I don't have a real out to it. I mean, I drew call, so I call the Moralltach in his draw phase, you know, so that's great. But instead I just get to honor arc it and save the call for something else, which is super helpful. And now I have a 3300 honor arc. So now, for the first time after the first turn, I finally feel like I'm in a winning position in this game. He draws Sanctum and then sets 4 passes, so I'm just like, what the heck? So I'm assuming there's a few artifacts in there. I get my Trap Tricks Trap Hole banished, and then he Sanctums. For Beagle. And then he hits 2 Moralltach, so now I'm just like, now I feel much less in control. Because now I have double and ignition. And ignition has to destroy the card it targets in order to set the artifact. And it has to resolve. So like I just can't even ignition his back row to get the artifact and then double cyclone it, because then he won't have any. So now I'm just in a spot where I lose my honor arc. So that was tough. So what I do here in the standby phase, I think, and I say, what did I say? Did I say okay? I say okay, and then he makes a Pleiades. And I was like, well, if he didn't make Tyrus that first time and he's playing M7, maybe he just doesn't play it. So once he makes Pleiades, he goes to battle phase, he attacks, I activate Call, knowing that that's going to get the Pleiades, right? So now I can ignition the Call, which is like a weird play, because like, what's the purpose of that? Oh, it's because I have a double cyclone. So now I can double cyclone, pop, use the Moralltach to pop the Pleiades, and now I put him in a position he's got a crash, and then I draw Fire Hand. Oh my gosh, this was the top deck of a lifetime. Thank goodness I drew that Fire Hand, because now he has this card that he can't even use because he's at 500 life points. He dualities into something that doesn't out the Fire Hand, and I think the game goes on maybe 1 or 2 turns longer because the call is like good. I think you're supposed to not do this. I think you're supposed to call something else and then turn it to defense on your turn. Not Beagle Tech, obviously, but like the M7 maybe. Call the M7 and then turn it to defense, because now I have a Fire Hand and you're forcing yourself to draw an out to it, and you didn't, so now I have one. So I think the first mistake, summoning the M7 in attack mode, gave me a really good honor arc play with my soul charge, and then just popping the hand there. There's no reason to use the call if you're just gonna pop the hand, because then I out the Moralltach and just have a different hand. Like, it's forcing you to draw an out either way. So I think the call just should have been used for something defensive. He opens Curry and Card, and I think this is a game that I lose because debunk in all my hands, and it just generates a lot of advantage here. Ice Hand gets debunked, unlucky. Call, but I have ignition for it, so now I get a Moralltach, and then I end phase double cyclone, another debunk. So I'm in an okay spot here, but the problem is now I just have too many. I have call, soul charge that don't do anything. Duality for Prophecy, because I knew he had bottomless, so like, what's a Fire Hand gonna do? Maybe I shouldn't have done that. It gets ignitioned, and then I get card deed, so it's just generating more advantage. I'm just not able to kill him fast enough. I have a debunk here for that, but he keeps drawing like ignitions and double cyclones, like like 2 of each, right? He gets to 2 of each ignition and double cyclone, so he just has so much pressure with the artifacts that I just lose any semblance of momentum that I had. And I set the fire hand, but I can't come back through this last debunk. And I missed the debunk with the Sanctum, which was sad. So now I have a bottomless left. I had no Dio targets, so I set it, but then now there's just too many artifacts and too many things. And now I just lose to the bottomless here. So now I'm going first game 3. And I draw double Dio, which is not the best. But I have warning and ignition. I do not ignition in the end phase. I decide to hold it to kind of see what happens. And then I draw into Myrmillia, which is super helpful. That makes my hand so much better. My warning gets hit, which is unfortunate. But now he has to skip his battle phase, and I hit the debunk, which is crazy. Because now my crow goes through. Hitting that debunk off the ignition was very good for me. I say, hope that's not a hand, and attack into it. Oh, yeah, he doesn't play hands, because I don't even think he sides them, because he plays Curry Bandit and Card Car, so I don't even have to worry about the hands here. And I have the Nightmare, and I have the double Cyclone for the call. So now I'm just plus a lot, and I'm in a very good spot. He draws Sanctum, which is really good. But I can just crash it and say, hope that's not a debunk, and it's not. So now I just push for more, and I have double Dio now, and I'm just in a super good spot, and I win Moralltach Monthly 34. This video kind of turned crazy long, sorry about that. Thanks for hanging out. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hopefully we get another one of these videos for first place MM35.